It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers and the Angels. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, prospects of a good ball game, especially when Clayton Kershaw goes to the mound. Both clubs, well, the Angels were in last place. They've turned around to win 4 in a row, so all of a sudden they're 4.5 games behind the Texas Rangers. The Dodgers in and out of first place, but they've lost 2 in a row. Right now they're tied with Colorado in second place, a game and a half behind San Francisco. For the Dodgers, with Kershaw going, well, they've won 7 of his 8 starts. He's 5-1. The rest of the staff, however, has lost 18 of 31. Kershaw, 2-0 against the Angels last year, 4-2 lifetime. And last year, when he was 2-0, his earned run average, well, it was 0.72. Weaver is 3-2, lifetime 6-2, but actually Jared hasn't pitched against the Dodgers since May of 2013. The show will move on to Anaheim tomorrow night. It'll be Mike Bolsinger making his debut for the Dodgers, and he'll be going up against Nick Tropiano. And then the concluding game of the series will be Thursday, Ross Stripling, and he'll go up against Ulysses Chassin. Dodgers then go to San Diego. They'll be home Monday the 23rd against the Reds. So sit back, relax, pull up a chair. We've got a good one coming up and a whole lot more right after this. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, Dodger and Angel fans. Welcome to Dodger Stadium for another exciting ball game between these two friendly rivals, the best way you can put at it. After all, if you're a Dodger, how in the world can you get angry at Mike Scioscia and so many men who formerly wore the blue? So Mike, sitting quietly, will take a look at his lineup card, and it reads this way. Leading off, Yunel Escobar at third, Cole Calhoun in right, Mike Trout in center, and Albert Pujols at first. Giovanni Soto behind the plate, Johnny Giovotella, the second baseman, Shane Robinson in left, Jared Weaver on the mound, hitting eighth, and Gregorio Petit batting ninth. For the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw with a record of 5-1 and doing a number on the Angels in the few times that they have met. In his last 5 starts, he has struck out 10 or more, and of course posing a tremendous threat to anybody who checks in ahead of him. In his career, his earned run average, even way back when he was just starting, his earned run average is 249. So this would be his 9th start against the Angels. He is 4-2 lifetime and ready to go. 2-0 here at Dodger Stadium and an earned run average of 1.8 against the Angels. But a top hitter checking in, and that would be Yunel Escobar, one of the top hitters in the major leagues, bringing in a .313 batting average. But a right-hand batter swings, flares one, backhanded at first base by Kendrick. Howie Kendrick, playing first base, takes a base hit away from Escobar, and it was a flare and a full lunge, and Kendrick made the play. So one away, and what a way to start. So one down, Kendrick, who plays first base, second base, third base, left field, steals one, and the batter now is Cole Calhoun. Calhoun, one of the rare players who can talk about hitting a home run against Kershaw, and the fastball is low, ball one to Cole. Calhoun been hitting well of late. Stocky, left-hand hitting right fielder. Kershaw looks in, getting a sign, and comes back 1-0. Fastball swung on and missed. So Calhoun coming up there, no defense, a very aggressive hitter. He was the big leaguer last year who homered against Kershaw and Greinke. He did it back-to-back in Anaheim in September. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball swung on and missed at 94. And the count 1-2 to Cole. He's 5'10", about 200-pounder. Went to school at Arizona State, born in Arizona. Cole signed with the Angels back in 2010. 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled off at 95. 1-2 the count. So the Dodgers leading with their best, trying to snap a 4-game winning streak for the Angels that has seen the Angels get out of last place and are now third place, 4.5 behind Texas. Kershaw, both feet on the rubber, turned, ready, and the 1-2 pitch, slow curveball, whacked down the right field line, foul. What happened was it was nice and slow, and Calhoun just pulled it too much. Nope, still 1-2. So Calhoun wasn't about to take that big rainbow curveball. In his last 15 games, Calhoun is hitting a blistering .382 and hitting .438 in the games he's played here at Dodger Stadium. Kershaw looking over the fingertips of his glove. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball foul back. So Calhoun hanging tough. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball after that big slow rainbow curve, and he's still there. Cole won a Gold Glove last year, so he brings a lot to the dance for the Angels. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals, slider got him. So first the fastball, then the big slow curve, and then the slider, and down goes Calhoun for Kershaw. Strikeout number 1. Now you really get to that part of the game that is really worth the price of admission. To have Kershaw pitching to Trout, followed by Pujols, it doesn't get much better than that. So Trout checking in. He's been very hot in the month of May, hitting better than .346. Trout, big right-hand batter, as you know. Kershaw deals. Fastball up. 1 ball and no strikes. Trout last night had a walk, a single, and a double. Scored 1, knocked in 2. The next one, 1-0, golfed at and missed. 1-1 the count. Now that was out of the strike zone, but Mike going after it. The best always aggressive against the best, and that's what you have right here. Dodgers load up the left side. The outfield fanned out about straight away, although they give him right field. 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball low and inside, ball 2. Greg Gibson is the plate umpire. Ed Hickok at first. Mike Estabrook at second. Jordan Baker, the big man, on the foul line at third. 2-1 pitch on the way. Kershaw delivers, fouled away. When we talk about Jordan Baker at third, he is, to our knowledge, the tallest umpire in the major leagues. He stands all of 6'7", and as nice a guy as you'd ever want to meet. 2-2 the count. Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Slow curveball, just missed. Oh, the crowd groaned. They thought he had a strikeout, but it was just off the plate. Big high rainbow, and the count 3-2. Crowd, of course, wants to react on a lot of strikeouts. Next pitch is grounded foul outside of third and down the line. Ron Renicky, an old pal, coaching at third. Gary DiSarcina over at first. Angels happy to be on the road. They lost 6 straight at home, but they're 2 games above 500 now on the road. And in their 4-game winning streak, they've scored 26 runs. The next one is swung on, and this fastball down at 94. So Clayton Kershaw strikes out 2 in the first inning. And at the end of half an inning, Dodgers nothing, Angels coming up. Inning, no score in the ball game. Clayton Kershaw strikes out 2 of the 3, much to the delight of this big crowd. We'll take a look now at Dave Roberts' lineup. Chase Utley, Justin Turner, and Corey Seager. Howie Kendrick at first. Jock Peterson, Trace Thompson in left. Yasiel Puig returns to the lineup in right field. A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and Clayton on the mound. On the mound, big Jared Weaver, 6'7", 215 pounds. pitching under a lot of problems and pain, but his first slow curveball misses for ball one. His velocity is not what it once was. He's been throwing his fastball about 82 or 83. So you're looking at someone who has to pitch. The 1-0 pitch is a little high, ball two. That's about as high as I think we will see him throw, 84 miles an hour. He has a bulging disc in his neck, but he also has more frustration than just that. The right-hander peering over the tips, and now Utley backs out. Weaver's frustration comes from the uncertainty. He was diagnosed with mild degenerative changes in the cervical spine. Fastball whipped in there at 82. I know that sounds strange, but that's why we say Jared Weaver really pitching. A 16-game winner a few years ago and finishing up his contract. He's 34 come October. Weaver ready, and his 2-1 pitch to Utley. Off speed, check swing on a 68-mile-an-hour change. But when you say a 68-mile-an-hour change off what? Well, the occasional 80-mile pitch. So one thing Jared knows, he might not have the stuff he used to have, but he certainly knows how to pitch. The 2-2 pitch on the way is swung on, lifted in the powder blue into right center. Moving over easily and putting it away is Calhoun. So Weaver gets the first man. Now the things about Weaver we can talk about.
10,
from
Justin
2011 through 14, his hits per 9 innings went from 7 to a little more than 8. For the last 2 years, they've gone from 9 hits in a game in 2015, and already this year it's over 12 hits per 9 innings. The home runs have gone up. A lot of things have gone up to hurt him. 3-2 with his league, and the fastball at 83 in for a strike. So here's Justin Turner batting .238, struggling like the Dodgers at home, hitting only .190 and just under .300 away from here. He takes high, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. First of all, Weaver, the number 1 batter in the lineup, is hitting .190 against him, so he got the leadoff man Utley. The number 2 hitter, however, is batting .412 against him. Here comes Weaver, 1-1, swung on and hammered foul out of play, and that got up there at 69 miles an hour. The number 2 hitter batting .412, the number 3 hitter .368, and pretty much so it goes. The 8th hitter batting .333. And what he's been doing is fooling the hitters for a couple of innings, 3-4 innings maybe, and then after that, that stuff is very questionable. The 1-2 pitch is a little low, and the count 2-2. Waiting on deck, Corey Seager. Jared Weaver's earned run average in the first 3 innings of a game is 2.1. And the 2-2 pitch coming up, and Turner lifts his leg. It's a ground ball speared by Escobar, who throws him out. So Turner losing a base hit to the opposing third baseman, Yuniel Escobar. Corey Seager coming up. So this is always interesting. You have the veteran and the kid. Escobar with that magic glove and magic bat. He's quite a player over there. So Seager checking in, hitting just under 300, but blazing hot. And off speed, pulled fair. Speared by Pujols, throws to Weaver in time. Nice play by Albert Pujols, because that ball was right on the line. I think Seager thought it might have been foul, but Pujols didn't play umpire and made the play. And at the end of an inning, no score. Second inning, mom and her son. Mom wearing a Dodger shirt and the son wearing an Angel shirt. Happiness, it's a grand rivalry between the two teams. And talking about rivalry, well, we saw Kershaw and Trout. Now we'll see Kershaw and Pujols. So Albert checking in, and Kershaw ready. The first pitch of the right-hand hitter finds the mark at 93 for a strike. 0-1. What is there to say about Albert Pujols that hasn't been said before? Well, he's 10 for 26 against Kershaw. Whoops, make it 11 for 27 as he bangs one on the ground into center field. Pujols has 1,724 runs batted in. We are looking at an all-star playing. It's just remarkable to have the opportunity to see him backing Trout and to face a pitcher of the quality of Kershaw. So Pujols a base hit. Giovanni Soto, the catcher, checking in. Right-hand batter. Kershaw straddling the rubber, and they're going to call a balk on him. I thought he was off the rubber, and apparently his left foot was on it. And the first base umpire, Ed Hickok, called it. There you can see he's going to throw over, and that left foot from where we are up here looked behind the rubber, but down on the field, obviously his foot was on the rubber. So he thought it was a fake, but it's a balk, and Pujols at second base, nobody out. Kershaw working on Soto, jams him, and the count 0-1. Kershaw has a couple of balks, surprisingly enough. He had a balk called recently, and let's check. Yeah, that would be his second balk. All right, 0-1 the count to Soto. Giovanni hits a comebacker. Kershaw bluffing Pujols and throws to first for the out. So one out. Nice play by Clayton. And the batter will be Johnny Giovatello. Soto hit that ball hard, but right back to Clayton Kershaw. Johnny Giovatello. We mentioned it last night. It's so interesting. In his first major league at bat, he had a grand slam home run. Second time he came up, the bases were loaded and he struck out. But last year, with the bases loaded, Giovatello hit 700, 7 for 10. There's the first pitch to him, swung on, beaten foul at the plate, and the count 0-1. Giovatello is anything but a big man, but he has a tremendous desire to succeed. He's only 5'8". We were thinking about small players today, and those who are in the game and those who succeed. Giovatello now trying to pick up Pujols. Second inning, no score, and the fastball is lined to center. Coming up to play it on a hop is Peterson, and they're going to hold Albert at third base. So Giovatello, a line drive single after Soto hit the ball hard, but right back to Clayton. First and third, and the batter Shane Robinson with Jared Weaver on deck. You've heard of Willie Keeler, remember? Willie Keeler hit him where they ain't. Well, he wasn't very big. Willie Keeler was 5'4". You heard of Hack Wilson, big home run and RBI man. He was 5'6". So there have been some excellent players, and there's a dazzling one right now at 5'6", Jose Altuve. Meanwhile, Kershaw checking the runners at the corners, comes to the plate with a fastball, and that's lined to center for a base hit. Pujols scores. Giovatello goes to second. And one thing about Kershaw, he's not going to throw his fastball behind some of these Angel hitters. He's going to have to mix it up a little more. So that's not only 3 hard singles, but the comebacker was hit hard. So Robinson a single. Giovatello stops at second. Pujols walks it in, and the Angels are on the board 1-0. Remember, they're trying to win their 5th in a row after losing 6 in a row at home. So now Jared Weaver, and the Dodgers figure with one out, he's going to try to bunt, and he's showing bunt. Kershaw looks back at second. Swinging is the hitter. Back to Kershaw, who slips and throws high to first base, but they get the out. Kershaw had a double play ball slipped on the mound, right in the front of the mound. You can see the turf that came up. And so Kershaw lost the double play. Perfect one coming back, and that's where he staggered, slipped, looked at second, and then almost threw away at first. They're going to have to go out and kind of slow Clayton down a little bit. Runners meanwhile at second and third. So the Angels attacking Kershaw as if they never heard of him. Pujols a single to center. Soto a one hopper back to the box. Giovitella a single to center. Robinson a single to center. Weaver a one hopper back to the box. And now here's Gregorio Petit batting ninth. Swings, doesn't get the first one, just off the plate at 90 miles an hour. Petit has not been with the Angels very long, but he has impressed. Young shortstop Kershaw out of the stretch. Runners at second and third. Left-hander ready, and his strike one fastball in the dirt. Blocked by A.J. Ellis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, when you're early in school, they teach you that even homer nods. So even the great ones have bad games. And for Kershaw, he's going to have to really fight to turn this thing around. Clayton slowing it down for a moment. Now looks over at his runners. Giovitella at third, Robinson at second, 2 out. And the 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's a fastball inside, ball 2. Clayton has made 26 pitches. The results have not been to his liking, except when he opened up the game, struck out Calhoun and Trout. So Petit battling to stay alive on a 2-1 count with 2 down. Kershaw ready. Here he comes. Swung on and missed. And the count 2-2. So the deuces are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. Number 22 standing on the mound. And the Angels leading 1-0. Clayton checking the runners. Now hands together and to the stretch. His 2-2 pitch on the way. Clayton deals in there. Strike 3, and down goes Petit. However, the Angels make a little noise. The Angels sing and pick up a run. Pujols, of course, leading the way. And at the end of an inning and a half, it's 1-0 Angels. I'm here in Los Angeles for the Angels, leading 1-0. Palm trees silhouetted against a golden sky. And in the second inning, it'll be Kendrick, Peterson, and Thompson. Howie Kendrick made a dazzling catch of the ball hit by Yuniel Escobar, opening up the game. Howie playing first base and takes high, ball one. When Adrian Gonzalez is not in the lineup, that's news. Since 2006, Adrian has played 1,628 games. Pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Though Dave Roberts minus his butter and egg man, but has a good sub in Kendrick. 1-1 pitch, hard chopper to third, but Escobar is on it, slings it over to Pujols, and just like that, one away. You know, friends, after the Dodgers host the Braves Friday, June 3rd, sit on the field, enjoy Friday night fireworks presented by Denny's. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Weaver has retired 4 in a row. We can also tell you the Giants are in San Diego. They're scoreless in the second inning. Madison Bumgarner and Colin Ray. Bumgarner is 4-2. So Jock Peterson hitting .240. Weaver into the windup. Jarrett delivers that big, slow little breaking ball at 68 miles an hour and gets it in there for a strike. Weaver, whose brother Jeff at one time wore the Dodger blue. His next pitch sails inside. 2014, a healthy Jarrett Weaver was 18-9. And his earned run average 2.3. That's how good he was. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball in for a strike. Fastball at 84. So big league hitters are a little bit out of sync looking at that kind of stuff. 2-1 to Jock. Off speed, and he's way out in front. That looked like a straight change at 69 miles an hour. Big difference between Kershaw and Weaver, and we're not just talking about velocity and otherwise. We're talking about base stealers and base runners. 2-2 pitch on the way. Peterson swings, fouls it off. Kershaw, in his career, the successful runner only 51% of the time. 58 stolen bases, 55 caught. With Weaver, a totally different story. Success is 78%. Here's the 2-2 pitch, taken for strike 3 called, and that was 84 miles an hour. With Weaver, 180 stolen bases and only 52 caught. So with runners on base, there's an extra game, and it would look like Kershaw would have the edge. But we'll see. It's 1-0 in favor of the Angels. Weaver now has disposed of 2. And now here's Trace Thompson, having a 2-home run game last night, and he has a half a dozen home runs right now. Fastball down and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Weaver has retired 5 in a row. Thompson trying to get some action going. Talking about action going, the Giants have scored 3 in the second inning. 3-run home run by Brandon Crawford, the $75 million shortstop. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Weaver flips it, little miss. I think what he's doing now, I just caught it that time. I'm not sure if he's going to do it all the time. I think his head, the movement of his head on that last pitch would really fool the hitter, thinking it was going to be a fastball. It looked like maximum effort. Yeah, he does something with his head and his delivery. 2-1 the count. Stu Miller, the famous pitcher with the Giants. Let's see if we pick it off if you're watching on a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, that head movement could have attract the hitter and break his concentration. That's what Stu Miller did. The 2-1 pitch on the way, and the fastball is low. Fastball at 85, so he's got it up a notch. Weaver at 6'7", 215. He'll be 34 in October. Jared ready now, and his 3-1 pitch. Thompson takes. It's in there at 74. Well, we told you that his delivery in the first 3 innings has been terrific. Yeah, just before he's going to release the ball, it's maximum effort. His head jerks, and then he'll throw at 68. 3-2 change is low. Ball 4. Well, you got to use every trick in the book when you're pitching in the big leagues, and you're throwing high about 83, 84. And of course, for Weaver, who has been pitching professionally since 2005 and in the big league since 2006, he could write a book. So 2 out, Thompson walks, and here's Yasiel Puig. And looking at Weaver, a young hitter like Puig has never faced him. So Yasiel checking in. Thompson at first, 2 down. Weaver set up around the collarbone. Now turns, fires to first. Thompson having to dive back. We told you before that Weaver is very, very vulnerable to the stolen base. And we also have told you over the years that Puig is a first ball hitter. Well, let's see what happens. Weaver out of his stretch, checking Thompson, still checking, now to the plate, and Puig hits a high pop fly, and I mean high. It's the shortstop making the catch for the out, so Petit will run the ball off the field. No runs, no hits, a man left, and at the end of 2, it's 1-0 Angels. Third inning, 1-0 in favor of the Angels. There's certainly some electricity in the ballpark tonight. One reason is Clayton Kershaw. If you're going to be the ace of a staff, you're the man they look to break losing streaks. May 1, he snapped a 6-game streak. May 7, he snapped a 2-game streak. May 12, after the Mets, he snapped 1. And of course, the Angels won last night, and the Dodgers once again look at Clayton. It'll be the top of the order, starting with Escobar, who lost a base hit on a leaping backhand catch by Howie Kendrick at first base. And the pitch to Escobar is low, ball 1. Escobar 3 for 15 against Kershaw, but hitting .305. Yunel swings, doesn't get it, 1-1. Young fella out of Havana, Cuba. 6'2", 215. 34 come November. Originally signed with the Braves. 1-1 pitch a little low. 2-1 to count to Escobar. Yunel, Y-U-N-E-L. 2-1 pitch coming up. And he has a look at a strike. 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Escobar nodding his head as if, yep, I approve. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw ready. Back he comes. Over the top fast sinker is swung on and missed. And down he goes. So that's 4 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. 1 out in the 3rd. And the batter Cole Calhoun, who struck out in the 1st inning. Kershaw and strikeouts, oh my gosh, they really go hand in hand. Kershaw, 77 strikeouts. Walks and hits in innings pitched. He leads the majors. So Calhoun, stocky left-hand batter. First pitch down and away, ball 1. In 4 home starts this year, Kershaw has an earned run average of 1.9, and he has 3 wins, 1 loss. 1-0 pitch swung on, foul back, and the count 1-1. Calhoun, coming into the game, was 2 for 4 with a home run against Kershaw last year. He struck out, though he's 2 for 5, and he has struck out 3 times in those 5 at-bats. So Cole waiting. Kershaw into the windup. 1-1 pitch. That's high. Ball 2. 2-1 the count to Cole Calhoun. Calhoun busy high up in the lineup, especially with Mike Trout hitting directly behind him. Though he has scored 6 runs in the last 3 games. 2-1 pitch on the way. Swung on and foul back. And a 2-ball, 2-strike count. He's done very well here in a very brief career at Dodger Stadium. Coming into the game, he was 7 for 16. That's a .438 batting average, and then he struck out first trip. Good all-around solid ball player, Cole Calhoun. Kershaw into the windup. Clayton's 2-2 pitch. Another high fastball at 95. It's one of those nights, and of course it's very early, but he's not quite the same. And you say to me, really? You struck out 4, but he's fighting it a little bit. 3-2 the count with Trout on deck. Kershaw delivers, swung on, ground ball to Howie Kendrick. He will wave his pitcher away. All right, 2 down, 3rd inning, 1-0 Angels, and Mike Trout coming up. We mentioned it last night because it is a little odd. Last year, Mike Trout was describing weather for the Weather Channel during a big storm in New Jersey. But how did he get ready for this year? Well, how about this? He had quite a workout. He checks in, Kershaw delivers, and it's foul back. What Mike Trout was doing, he was pushing a tractor tire with dumbbells tumbling inside of it. The tire weighed 650 pounds and the dumbbells about 200 pounds. Yes, it takes a big man to push that kind of a tire. Strike 1 pitch is a changeup for a strike. Changeup at 74 miles an hour. Trout stands 6'1" and a good 235. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Fastball away at 95. They always talk about Trout and Mickey Mantle. Trout much bigger. Mantle was 5'11", about 195. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Clayton ready and delivers, slow and fouled off. That's the change at 73. Trout had seen one earlier that missed the plate, and that time he fought it off. So we'll see the progression. Does he come back after the slow one with another slow one? or does he come back with a fastball? A.J. Ellis shuffling cards behind the plate. 1-2 coming up. It is in the dirt. 2-2. Clayton made 15 pitches in the first inning, 13 pitches in the second, and he has made 16 pitches so far with 2 out in the third. 2-2 pitch coming up, and that's low at Mike's feet. Ball 3, 3-2. So superstars going head to head, Kershaw and Trout. Now the left-hander ready, comes back, and it's swung on and grounded foul outside of third. When Trout went to the plate at the beginning of the game, he was batting .317, but it took him a while to get there. What he did was hit about .350 in the month of May. Waiting on deck, Albert Pujols. 3-2 pitch is swung on, ground ball to short. It eats Seager a little bit, but he makes the play. Boy, that thing was hit hard. Seager had to fold his body over it to throw him out. So the Angels go in order. At the end of 2.5 innings, it's still Angels 1, Dodgers nothing. Mike Trout, a hard hopper handled by Corey Seager for the final out in the third inning. Interesting to watch him. He doesn't seem to show anger at all, and he usually has something to say to Cole Calhoun as they go back out onto the field. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have A.J. Ellis followed by Clayton Kershaw, and the first pitch low, ball 1. Escobar playing A.J. about even with the bag. Trout is deep, and the outfield fanned out straight away. Escobar right at the bag at third, and the 1-0 pitch taken on the inside corner for a strike. 75 miles an hour. Jared Weaver, boy, what a pitcher he was. Right-hander come back 1-1, drops it a little low, ball 2. Back in 2012, Weaver finished the first half with a record of 10 victories, 1 loss, and an earned run average of 1.9. 2-1 pitch on the way, hit to the gap in right center, but it is slicing, and Calhoun will catch up to it. So it was a routine room service fly ball, and we have one away.
22, Clayton Kershaw.
When Weaver turned in that remarkable record, he became the first pitcher since Sandy Koufax to have at least 10 wins and an ER under 2 in the first half of consecutive seasons. That's how good he was. Clayton Kershaw coming up. 1 out, third inning, 1-0 Angels. Clayton pretty handy with the bat, hitting about 190. Weaver ready, comes back to the plate, misses offside, one base. Weaver and Kershaw side by side, two fans rooting for different teams and happily getting along very well. The 1-0 pitch, ground ball into the hole, base hit to right field. So Clayton Kershaw comes up with his 5th hit of this young year, a 1-out single to right, and Chase Utley coming up. Weaver, as those numbers would tell you, gets through the first 3 innings pretty well, and then his troubles really begin second time through the lineup. It was the first time for Kershaw. It is now the second time for Chase Utley. Chase hitting .275, then out holding Kershaw, and that's banged into left center for a base hit. Trout up with it. Kershaw's going for third. The throw. He is out at third. Trout firing to Escobar, and Kershaw gambling against one of the better arms in the American League. Clayton hit the bag, kept on going. It was airmail by Trout to Escobar, who made the tag. Considering where we are in the lineup, that was not a good gamble for Kershaw. He had back-to-back hits, but Trout nails him, and Kershaw has to go back and clean up. So Utley taking second on the throw. That was kind of a Yasiel Puig throw, and I can't figure how to compliment Trout more than to compare him to the Dodger right fielder. But that was in the air, straight away, right into the glove of Escobar. He had to go over a bit to scoop it up and then let it fly. And a nice tag by Escobar. Kershaw trying to get in around the first base side of home plate, and he was hung out to dry. So 2 down. Dodgers have a runner at second. Angels lead 1-0. Weaver leaning on his left knee, looks in for a sign. Now Jarrett straightens up, looks back at Utley, comes to Turner, and it's in for a strike at 75. Another thing about Jared Weaver, you compare him to one of the great pitchers the Yankees ever had, Whitey Ford. 2006, Jared opened his major league career going 9-0. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Weaver delivers. That swung on and hammered to center. Back goes Trout to the track at the wall and drops it. The run scores. Turner into second. We have a 1-1 tie. Boy, what a surprise. Turner lifted a high fly ball to center. Trout went back, got to the track, at the wall, reached up, caught it, and dropped it. A shock indeed for a kid who makes so many dazzling plays day in and day out. So it's 1-1 in the third. And the pitch now to Seager is whacked down into the right field corner, foul. We're waiting on the drop by Trout. We have not gotten a sign whether it was an error or a base hit. Sitting up here, it should be an error, and it is. So Turner is at second base on the drop fly ball by Trout. Utley scores on the play after Kershaw was thrown out. So it's a rough, but figures to be a rough inning for Jared Weaver. The strike one pitch, Seager takes another strike, and the count 0-2. Talking about Weaver's great years, 9-0, that tied an American League rookie pitcher start in a season. Whitey Ford did it way back in 1950. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Seager takes strike 3 called, and that is the inning. But what an inning it was. Kershaw thrown out by Trout. Trout dropping the fly ball, hit by Turner, and they're even at the end of 3, a 1-1 tie. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the Bacon-licious sourdough bacon ranch combo. Only at Jack in the Box. Memories way back at Vero Beach. Don Drysdale playing Pepper with Larry Sherry, Roger Craig, Ed Roebuck, and Sandy Koufax. All right, great first 3 innings. Here's Pujols in the 4th. Fouls it back. 0-1 to Albert. Pujols came in here 10 for 26 and 4 doubles against Clayton. Fastball a little low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kershaw, because of that slide at third, covered with dirt. Little comebacker. 1 away in the 4th inning.
Number 18, Giovanni Soto.
Giovanni Soto coming up. 1 out, 4th inning, a 1-1 tie. When Soto first came up to the National League, he figured to be a star. 0-1 to count. Soto was with the 2008 National League Rookie of the Year when he was playing for the Cubs. You know who was second that year? Joey Votto of the Reds. That's a strike. 0-2. And when they were voting for the Rookie of the Year, Soto got 31 first place votes. How many for Votto? 1. However, that was 2008. 5 strikeouts now for Clayton Kershaw. And the batter, Gio Votella. You know, looking at Clayton Kershaw's uniform with all the dirt on it, it reminds us about the importance of dirt to certain people. And if you go back, you know, first of all, the umpires get a certain dirt and they rub the new balls before putting them in the game. Back in 1916, the Yankees were playing in the Polo Grounds. And whenever the Washington Senators came to New York to play the Yankees, would you believe they brought their own dirt? You're saying what? Yeah, they did. they would bring their own dirt to dry their hands, and they claim the soil around home plate in the Polo Grounds was trick dirt. Have you ever heard of trick dirt? Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball banged into right field, base hit. So Giovitella 2 for 2, single to center, single to right, and the batter will be Shane Robinson. Yeah, to conclude the thought, the Washington Senators, as they were then called, said that instead of drying the moisture on their hands, the dirt in the Polo Grounds made their hands slippery and the balls and bats harder to handle. How about that? Trick dirt. Well, there's nothing tricky about Kershaw. He tried to get the third on a base hit, and he looks like Linus. Fouled away. 0-1 to count to Shane Robinson. One tie. Great first 3 innings. This ballpark was alive like it was a playoff game. Kershaw staring over at Giovitella. Angels are not a running club. Giovitella has 2 stolen bases, but he's also been caught twice. That's the best record on the ball club. They're 11-11 in stolen base attempts and success. 1 ball and 1 strike. Robinson checking with Ron Renicky coaching at third. Kershaw has made 11 pitches in the inning, 58 in the game. Giovitella with 2 out. 1-2 to count. As we mentioned before, among other things, Kershaw does a remarkable effort of cutting down any running game. 58 stolen bases against, 55 caught, and he's picked off 58. One run, 4 hits for the Angels. 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Top of the 4th. Fastball grounded foul. He had to go down to get it. It was off the usual pace at 89 miles an hour. I was just thinking, and it's not a nasty thought, but Jared Weaver would say, I would give anything to throw the 89 pitch that Kershaw kind of throws away. Well, once upon a time, Jared could do it easily. 1-2 to Shane Robinson. Big overhand breaking ball, and the count 2-2. 2 out. So of course Kershaw would love to get Robinson in the inning, and that would mean Weaver would be the leadoff hitter in the 5th inning. 2-2. Giovitella goes, and the ball is hit foul. Though still 2-2. 15 pitches in the inning by Clayton. Angels scored in the 2nd inning, and they did it on 3 hits. Pujols, Giovitella, and Robinson. Dodgers came back. 2 singles and a drop fly ball by Mike Trout. Although it wasn't exactly a drop fly ball. He's running parallel to the wall in center field. Got his glove on it and dropped it. 2-2. Fastball grounded right to Kendrick, who does a wonderful job to get down on one knee and make sure it didn't get through. Kershaw shaking his head as if say, gee, that's not the way I think wanted to come out. But he got away with it, and at the end of 3.5 innings, a 1-1 tie. as we go to the bottom of the fourth inning. 16 pitches by Kershaw, so he's made 63. Weaver coming into the fourth has made 39. Dodgers had Jeff Weaver, Jared's brother, and at one time the brothers were teammates with the Angels. Going back to 1900, there were 17 sets of brothers to be on the same staff. Meanwhile, Howie Kendrick stands alone at the plate, and we go to the bottom of the fourth. And promptly, first pitch banged into center. So the Dodgers went the first 2 innings without a hit. Then they had 2 hits and a long out in the third, leadoff single in the fourth. Do you know a standout high school senior athlete? If you do, nominate him for a chance to be named a Time Warner Cable Sports Championship Drive Scholar Athlete and receive a $2,500 college scholarship. Go to twcschamp.com now for more information. So Kendrick, line drive single to center against his old mates. And here's Peterson, who struck out in the second inning. There goes Kendrick, and the pitch is lifted to deep right field. Back goes Calhoun at the wall, leaps up, it is gone. And the Dodgers lead 3-1. Weaver gives up the big home run. For Weaver, that would be the 9th home run that he has allowed. Here's Trace Thompson, takes a strike. For Jock Peterson, his last home run was on the 8th of May in Toronto. And a shot foul outside of third. For Peterson, taking a pitch right out in the middle of the plate and a towering fly ball. Calhoun tried to climb the wall, but it was out of his reach. Big, powerful swing. So 3-1 Dodgers. There's going to be a line drive base hit to center. So Thompson will single. You hate to say it figures, but based on the past, it figures. First couple of innings, the big league hitters are confused. Fastballs at 82, changes at 68, but now the second time around they're all getting a good look at Jared Weaver. He gets a pat on the heart from Giovanni Soto, and here's Yasiel Puig. Well, Puig, as you know, a notorious first ball hitter, or should we say first ball swinger, popped up. Well, let's see what he does now. The Dodgers aren't wasting any time going after Weaver. 3-1 Dodgers. 2-run home run by Jock Peterson, breaking the tie. As first ball, ground ball to third, down to second, Giovitelli to first. So Puig, almost scripted, walks up, hits the first pitch. So 2 down. And the batter will be A.J. Ellis.
A.J. Ellis.
A.J. Ellis struck out in the third inning. We were talking about the Weaver brothers, and you might wonder about other famous brothers in the big leagues. How about Christy and Henry Mathewson and Dizzy and Paul Dean? That's ball one. Phil and Joe Niekro. Jim and Gaylord Perry. Pedro and Ramon Martinez. And Paul and Rick Russell with the Cubs. Yep, some great brothers in action. And for a brief time, the Angels had their own set. Jeff and Jared. 2 balls and no strikes.
Ball 3. Of course, you can't really feel sorry for Weaver. He's had a magnificent career. And I believe it's correct. Although he might be laboring out there, his contract for this year is $20 million. Well, that'll take the pain and assuage it a little. That's his fastball, but he misses. So Ellis goes to first with the walk. The double play slowed everything down. And now Clayton Kershaw, 1-for-1 coming up. So Kendrick single, Peterson homered, and Thompson singled. Then Puig killed 2 and Ellis walks. Clayton, who does everything well with his base hit, got his average up to 227. With this combination, you certainly don't expect Ellis with 2 out to do any running. The only thought, Ellis of course number 1 doesn't have the running speed, and number 2, if you get him, you have to start the next inning with Kershaw. Then there are those who might say, well, that's not so bad. But the Dodgers, I'm sure, would rather start the next inning with Utley. 0-1. Shane. I say that because I'm a little surprised that Socia has Pujols on the bag. Kershaw does pull the ball. He's single to right field. 1 ball and 1 strike. Foul the other way. 1-2. 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error for the Angels. 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. Dodgers trying to split the 2 here, and the show moves tomorrow to Anaheim. Squirts that thing down to shortstop, and that'll be that. So for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 big swing of the bat by young Jock Peterson, and the Dodgers break the tie as it carries out into right field. And at the end of 4, 3-1 Dodgers.
Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota time is going on now. Save big on the striking all-new 2016 Prius. See your local dealer today.
You're looking at Ebbets Field during the 1956 World Series. That's Sal Maglie pitching to Hank Bauer. What I want you to do is look and see where Roy Campanella is, where he belongs, behind home plate. Well, I saw a picture recently that kind of broke my heart. it showed Ebbets Field having been knocked down by the destruction ball. But right where Campy was also in his wheelchair, with his bat leaning up the side of the wheelchair, his glove hanging off the edge of the wheelchair, sitting all alone in a knockdown Ebbets Field. Wow, what a picture. 0-2 the count. Weaver hits 8th in the lineup. He'll be followed by Petit. Kershaw nailed trying to go first to third on a base hit by Utley. And that's that for a strikeout number 6. Anyway, when Mike Trout threw him out, you know, the first couple of years in the American League, Trout only had 3 outfield assists. 2011, 2012, 2013. However, since 2014 to right up tonight, he has 14 outfield assists. So now they know. And here's Petit. Chopper to Turner, fair ball. 2 out. And that'll bring up Yuniel Escobar, robbed of a hit by Hendrick and struck out. Escobar, a very colorful player. When he first came up from Cuba, and Cubans are that way, they're so enthusiastic, they're so full of rhythm and song. And he was known for twirling the bat and constant movement and whistling, a high piercing whistle. And ball 1. He'd be hollering to the infield, 2 down gang, 2 down gang, and then that whistle. And finally it got to drive Atlanta crazy, and they said, hey, you're not in Cuba, do us a favor, drop the whistle. But apparently it was really loud. I don't know whether he whistles at all with the Angels, certainly maybe in the clubhouse. They're so musical. I don't think I've ever seen a Cuban player who didn't look like he was ready to dance. He could hear the music that I couldn't. 1-2. There he is, bouncing around. Puig is like that, exactly the same. Yep, not quite now, though. Not much to dance for. Swinging at the first pitch, he is popped to short and hit into a double play. Nothing like that to take the dance out of you. 1-2. Fouled away. The first Cuban player I ever saw was with the Dodgers, a shortstop named Chico Hernandez. And he was exactly what you would think. He was always hearing the music that you couldn't hear. 1-2. Oh, wow. That big 73-mile-an-hour change. Escobar badly fooled. 7 strikeouts for Clayton. And the Dodgers lead 3-1. Had definite troubles in the second inning, but he has certainly turned things around. He's made 72 pitches. He has struck out 7, and he has limited the Angels to 1 run so far. Meanwhile, Utley, Turner, and Seager coming up. Utley having a little fun with Giovanni Soto. Jared Weaver ready to go to work. Ball 1. Utley fly to center, single to center, and scored on the drop fly ball by Mike Trout. Two and 0. The one thing about Angels starting pitchers, they are not long inning pitchers. They're 27 in innings pitched. They usually don't go deep into a game. The Dodgers rank 4th. Two and 0. Off speed. Utley way out in front of it. I'm sure the big league hitters, those pitches look like basketballs, but they're so hard to time. Off speed again. The old joke, of course, Weaver doesn't need a speed gun. An hourglass will do. But you enjoy watching someone so knowledgeable who really has to pitch. He can't find a way to overpower anybody. It's really interesting to watch him. Little ground ball to Giovanni. Johnny makes the play. 1 out, 5th inning. A reminder, continue your Dodger retired numbers pin series collection. Take June 4th, the Dodgers and Braves, and the pin features number 20 for Don Sutton, courtesy of 76. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. There they are, the great list. So we have 1 away. Justin Turner hit that long fly ball slightly right center, and that was the play when Trout, running it down, dropped it. Fastball that was up. Trout just got his glove right on it, and it happened. If you wonder, that is the 2nd error that Trout has made this year. 1-1. He's marvelous. The 2 top players, I guess, without argument, Mike Trout in the American League, Bryce Harper in the National League. But you know the one thing I don't like about either of them? They slide head first. There's a one-hopper into left field. So the Dodgers come up with their 6th hit, and Corey Seager coming up. Seager grounded to first and struck out. 3-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Bottom of the 5th inning. Don't go wandering off. In the 6th inning, the Angels will have Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols. Foul ball, 0-1. Boy, he gives that gum a workout. To right. Calhoun is there. So Seager hits it right on the button and lines out to right. And with 2 down, Howie Kendrick coming up.
First baseman Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick grounded to third, single to center. And base hit. Trout up with it. At second, bluffing to third is Turner. So the single by Turner, the line drive out, and the single by Kendrick, and that will bring up Jock Peterson, who struck out and hit a 2-run home run.
Center fielder, Jock Peterson.
So a couple of hard hit balls, but no runs here in the fifth yet. So Peterson swinging a hot bat. 2 on, 2 out. Jock has 7 home runs, 18 runs batted in. And hits one up the middle, smothered at shortstop. The play in time at first base. Big play by Petit. So 2 singles, a line drive out, and now a wonderful play by the shortstop. So the Dodgers turned away. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. At the end of 5, 3-1 Dodgers.
Back in 2008, the Dodgers beat the Angels 6-3, but that really wasn't the story. The Dodger pitchers were. You had Park, who went 4 innings. You had Quo that went 4 innings, and you had Saito, who closed up the game. Let's go back to this one.
Oh, and 1 the count to Cole Calhoun. Yep, you remember Chan Ho Park from South Korea, Hung Chi Quo from Taiwan, and Takashi Saito from Japan. First trio of pitchers from 3 different Asian countries to combine to go 9 innings in a major league game. 1-1 the count. And of course Maeda would like to know about that, I'm sure. That was a little out of the zone, but it was 93 miles an hour. Weaver is doing very well. He is Bob and Weaver tonight, getting out of trouble, down 3-1, but doing a very good job. Meanwhile, Kershaw has struck out 7. Make it 8. In every ball game, there comes a time where you lean forward to watch a contest. This is the time. Trout versus Kershaw. Trout struck out in the first inning. Trout grounded to short in the third. Ball 1. Yep, it seems they're all linked up tonight. One for Kershaw, one for Trout. That's one. Kershaw between the 76-90 mark. That's where the hitters are batting .258 against him with 1 home run. Off-speed curveball hit to center. Peterson is calling and makes the catch with Puig right there. They're like 2 kids out there. All right, 2 down. And here comes Albert Pujols. So where the Dodgers have been able to stop Trout, they have not been able to stop Pujols. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Single, hit back to the box. Fastball, but missed. Two and 0. Kershaw has always had a great earned run average in his career, inning by inning. That's going to go foul out of play. For instance, 1.1 in the first inning, 2.2 in the second, nothing in the third and fourth. However, 6th inning in his career, his earned run average is 7.88. But he's got 2 out here in this 6th inning. Three and 1. That's Mr. Anonymous along with the Pujols t-shirt. And a high fly ball to left field. Thompson going back. Still on the grass. So it's a 1-2-3 inning. Kershaw has now retired 7 in a row. He has struck out 7. And at the end of 5.5 innings, 3-1 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Carl's Jr., the $4 real deal, 4 items for just $4 at Carl's Jr. Memory time for those who remember. Roy Campanella on the left, Don Zimmer in the middle, and Gil Hodges on the right. Don Zimmer, so popular wherever he played, where he managed. One hopper at third, knocked down by Escobar, who picks it up and throws out Thompson. That ball hit hard. One away.
Right fielder, Yasiel Puig.
Zimmer was called Popeye, and as small and stocky as he was, he had huge forearms, almost like the cartoon character. Well, here's Puig, who hasn't wasted any time. Swung at the first pitch, popped up in the second. Swung at the first pitch and hit into a double play in the fourth. Of course, with the velocity of Jared Weaver, it's tough to let any pitch go by if it's a strike. 0-1. And 2. Well, he was jammed on a 75-mile-an-hour pitch, trying to time, and was late. One and 2. That's the fastball at 83. I think Jared had one up around 85. Change popped up. So Giovitella puts it away, and we have 2 down in the 6th inning. And A.J. Ellis coming up.
Catcher, A.J. Ellis.
Ellis struck out and walked 0 for 1. There aren't very many times a fan would talk to another fan about the subject, but I guarantee you there are plenty of men in the ballpark saying to themselves or to a buddy, well, I wouldn't mind taking an at-bat against Weaver. But as you can see, he's a magician with that stuff. Ball 1. Kershaw throwing 95, and he's throwing 68. And that's going to be hit in the air and dropped to the wall in left center. So Ellis on his way for 2. Trout gets it back into the infield. So a 2-out double by A.J., getting applause from his teammates. And the batter will be Clayton Kershaw.
Pitcher, Clayton Kershaw.
So Ellis 1 for 2. Kershaw single to right. Tried to go from first to third on a single by Utley, and Mike Trout shot him down. Last time up, he grounded out. On deck, Utley. See him run up in the box. Well, Pujols will take it. Since he knew he would not be overpowered, Kershaw ran up, guessing on a curveball, and hit it to Pujols. So we have 6 innings in the books, and it's 3-1 Dodgers. 3-1 in favor of the Dodgers. 7th inning. The Angels will have Soto, Giovitella, and Robinson. I don't think it's surprising anybody, but someone like Clayton Kershaw, so great, is pitching great. He's allowed 1 run, 4 hits, struck out 8. I think the surprise so far is we're in the 7th inning and Weaver is still in there, having held the Dodgers to just 3 runs. A.J. Octor is down in the pen, but Weaver has done very well. 0-2. So the game of contrasts. Weaver has allowed the 3 runs. He has 2 strikeouts. Kershaw trying to come up with number 9. There it is. So Soto strikes out a second time, and we have 1 out in the 7th inning. Say, don't forget, Wednesday, May 25th, the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an Adrian Gonzalez Big Hit Celebration bobblehead presented by Time Warner Cable. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Giovitella, single to center, single to right. And a strike. We were talking earlier about smaller players. Giovitella falls in that. 0-2. Jose Altuve is listed at 5'6". Joe Morgan, great player at second base. Joe is 5'7". And as we mentioned earlier, Willie Keeler was 5'4". 1-2. So if you have a son who wants to play baseball and he is not big, just tell him. There are a lot of fellas not big at all who have had great careers in the big leagues. Fastball lifted to right. Puig is there. 2 down. So the Kershaw who was struggling in the 2nd inning, that's really the only bump in the road, but he has really settled down now. 9 in a row. And here's Shane Robinson, who singled and grounded out. Oh, yeah. Now the Kershaw shirts show up. Ball 1. C.J. Cron comes out on deck. He would bat for Weaver should Robinson keep the inning alive. There's C.J. So for Weaver, I think he should be happy, and the Angels too, in the fact that he did pitch very well. 1 pitch to Jock Peterson is the difference. The 2-run home run in the 4th inning. 3-1 Dodgers. 2-1. Weaver 6 innings, 75 pitches. Fastball hit to center. Peterson has it on his radar screen, and that'll do it. That's 10 in a row retired by Clayton Kershaw, and at the end of 6.5, 3-1 Dodgers. Goes right back out to the mound. 7th inning. Dodgers leading 3-1. The Angels had 3 base hits in the 2nd inning for their run. The Dodgers had 2 hits in an error by Trout to get 1, and then the big difference in the game, the 2-run home run by Jock Peterson. So here's Utley, 1 for 3, tries to bunt, fouls it back, 0-1. No balls and 1 strike. The count to Chase. Fly to center, single to center, and came around to score and grounded out. One ball and 1 strike. Weaver now has made 77 pitches, but in no inning did he really have to labor. Line drive, base hit. Weaver last inning made only 8 pitches, although he did give up a double to A.J. Ellis. So now Utley is singled, and Justin Turner coming up, and Utley goes 2 for 4. Turner grounded to third and hit the long fly ball that Mike Trout dropped, and then last time up single to left. Turner 1 for 3, trying to keep it going. Ground ball up the middle, but that's where Giovatello was. He's on the bag and doubles him at first. So like real estate, location, location, location. Giovatello directly behind the bag. So a 4-3 double play, and the batter will be Corey Seager. Seager's grounded out, struck out, and lined out to right. Weaver, pitching the 7th, is due to lead off in the 8th, and we've already seen C.J. Cron come out on deck. So we would assume this would be his last inning. Angels had a pitcher earlier, sent him down. They've called him back. We believe he's down there in the bullpen. And there goes the ball way down the right field line and gone. Corey Seager hits his 7th home run. 21 runs batted in, and boy, he gave that thing a ride. So the double play cost a run. The Dodgers now lead 4-1, and here's Howie Kendrick. Ball 1. So Weaver has given up 2 home runs and 10 home runs in the year. Fly ball to right. Calhoun is at the other end of it, and that'll be that. In the 7th inning, 1 run, 2 hits. Let's take a look at the home run. Breaking ball right up out over the plate, and Seager certainly knew what to do with it. 4-1 Dodgers. now has an 8-game hitting streak. During that streak, 5 home runs, 8 runs batted in. And the Dodgers lead 4-1 as Jeffrey Marte checks in at the plate, pinch hitter for Jared Weaver. 0-1. Jeffrey, spelt with 1 F, is from the Dominican Republic. Only 25 years old. 6'1", 220. Basically a third baseman. Off speed, tried to time it, couldn't do it. Joining a big club. He was originally a highly touted prospect for Detroit. One and two. Fastball, see you later. So Marte strikes out, and he is the 10th strikeout for Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw very much now is in the groove, although he's in the groove just about all the time. He had a little wobble in the second inning when he gave up 3 hits for a run, but after that, he's just taken the game and tucked it under his arm. Look at the strikeouts. Ball 1. So he's on a string now. 11 in a row with 1 out in the 8th. The last base hit, Gio Vitella single to right in the 4th inning. We're in the 8th. Fastball. Pull foul. Petit struck out, grounded out. Talking about strikeouts, let's see. Pujols has not struck out. Gio Vitella has not struck out. And Robinson has not struck out. Kenley Jansen gets up. Meanwhile, Albert talking to Dino Ebel. Pujols, the one man who has manhandled Kershaw, and there's Kenley. Pujols tonight 1 for 3, a single. Big overhand curveball fouled away. Still 1 and 2. The paid attendance tonight, 42,514. Dodgers are actually averaging a little over 45,000. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Got him. So Petit becomes strikeout number 11. When you realize just how good Kershaw is, the way he can handle major league hitters. He's allowed 1 run. He has struck out 11. And here's Escobar, a very good hitter who has struck out twice. Escobar opened up the game with a soft line drive and a great catch by Howie Kendrick. Escobar might have asked Ellis if he thought that was a strike. He said something to him and AJ nodded yes. Well, Kershaw now is up to 106 pitches. And the fastball is lined right at the left fielder, Trace Thompson. So that's a break for Kershaw. And after 7.5 innings, he walks off with 11 strikeouts, leading 4-1. While Clayton Kershaw was making 107 pitches, just about everybody in the lineup had at least one hit, except Yasiel Puig, 0 for 3. And of course, the big blow right now turns out to be the Jock Peterson home run. That moved it from a 1-1 tie to a 3-1 Dodger lead. Kike Hernandez over to say something to Kershaw. And a new pitcher, Adam Joseph Ochter from Oregon, Ohio. Did you know there was an Oregon, Ohio? Wow. He's 6'5", 205-pounder. Foul ball and maybe a cracked bat. Yep, Jock will have to get another one, so timeout. Ochter, 28 years old, signed with the Twins. He was in the 46th round back in 2010. He went to school at Michigan State. He grew up in nearby Toledo, which I guess is the outskirts of Oregon, Ohio. He tossed 2 strong innings in relief against the Tigers, picked up a victory. Oh, and 1 to count. 1-1. Dodgers lead 4-1, bottom of the 8th inning. And a high fly ball to deep center. Back goes Trout to the wall. She is gone. So Jock has hit another one, and the kids are being heard tonight. Seager and Peterson. So the Dodgers now lead 5-1. Peterson had struck out, hit a 2-run home run, grounded out, and hit another home run. So Peterson now has 8. Seager has 7. And ball 1 to Trace Thompson. There they are, Peterson and Seager. 5 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 4 hits for the Angels, and that's whacked into right center. Trout over to cut it off. Thompson rounding first, holds on a perfect throw to second. So for Peterson, let's take a look at that second home run. Up on the outside part of the plate, and he smoked it. Trout climbing the wall, but no chance. Not for him either. So Ockler is brought in, gives up a home run and a single. And now here's the one man on the outside looking in. Yasiel Puig. Popped up, hit into a double play, grounded out. Boy, it's tough when you're on the outside and everybody else is celebrating. And ball 1. Down in the pen, J.P. Howell and Kenley Jansen. Kershaw made 107 pitches, and Dave Roberts probably figures that's enough. Little nubber wide of third, bare hand effort, but no play. And so Puig might not have hit it very far, but I believe he will join the club. Yep, a flashing hit. A modest thing and thine own, but when you need one, you'll take one any way you can. So Kershaw sitting back as his buddy Ellis comes up to the plate. KK Hernandez is out on deck, so Clayton is definitely done for the night. Ellis struck out, walked, doubled. Fastball strike. When the Angels come up in the 9th inning, they will have Calhoun, they will have Trout, and they will have Pujols. What the best of the three can do is get close. 5-1. Nobody out. A run in, 2 on. The Lochner now behind 1-2. Kind of a rude debut for him. And a home run and 2 singles. Basically fastball, curveball, and change. From Minnesota, he went to the Phillies and then to the Angels. Roll it a short. They'll get 1. They will get 2. Waiting for the umpire. So Ellis hits into a double play. Trace Thompson goes to third. Kike Hernandez coming up. So for Kershaw, another remarkable night. 9 innings. The balk set up the run. So he goes 8 and strikes out 11 and does not give up a walk. Hernandez hitting .205. Line drive, foul. Kike has 2 home runs, 9, make it 8 runs batted in. He's been in and out of about 34 games. No balls, 1 strike. Oh, and 2. 42,514. Taking a look at Clayton Kershaw at his best. Dodgers will go to Anaheim for the next 2 games, and they'll be here starting on the 23rd, a 3-game series with Cincinnati. Another foul ball. After that Cincinnati series, the Dodgers go on the road, and they will have their hands full. They have a 3-game series in New York with the Mets, followed by a 4-game series with the dazzling Chicago Cubs. The Cubs started today 27-9. Fly ball, Calhoun should take it, and does. So the Dodgers are done in the 8th. We can take another look at Jock Peterson's 2nd home run, leading off the 8th inning against A.J. Octave. And we're going to the 9th, 5-1 Dodgers.
Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Dodgers leading 5-1. Jock Peterson hits 2 home runs tonight. He had a 2-home run game last May in Milwaukee. So for Jock, having hit 2 tonight, that lights him up a little bit with 8 home runs. Kenley Jansen coming in to pick up from Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's numbers, every time you look up, you are absolutely amazed. He went 8 innings tonight, struck out 11, and did not walk a hitter. So Clayton Kershaw right now, he has 88 strikeouts and 4 walks. 88-4. Calhoun struck out twice, grounded out, 0 for 3. And that's fouled away. So the Angels came here tonight with a 4-game winning streak, and they were averaging better than 6 runs a game. 26 runs in the 4-game winning streak, but tonight they get 1. Jansen trying to put Calhoun away, and then he'll get Mike Trout. So for Calhoun, a very tough night as he strikes out 3 times and goes 0 for 4. Follow the Dodger Baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up for the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. All right, 2 more stars tangled. Trout 0 for 3, struck out, grounded out, flied out. Foul ball, 0-1. Trout, prior to tonight, was 2 for 8. Now he's 2 for 11 against Kershaw. Mike making a rare error way back in the 3rd inning, and the ball hit by Justin Turner. Mike running parallel to the wall out there on the track, reached up, ball hit his glove, and then came out, much to the shock of the crowd of 42,000. By the way, Giants leading the Padres 4-0, bottom of the 7th, and Brandon Crawford has all 4 RBIs for the Giants tonight. And that's Madison Bumgarner. So Trout is reeled in, goes 0 for 4. All Jansen is come in and gets Calhoun and now Trout. And another test, and that would be Albert Pujols. So 13 Angels have bitten the dust. And here's Albert. Single to center, hit back to the box, flied to left. Scored a run, the only run. Lifted to right field. Puig is there, waiting, and that'll be that. So the Dodgers to win it, 5 runs, 13 hits, no errors. For the Angels, 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error. Clayton Kershaw is 6-1. Jared Weaver is 3-3. Jansen made it look so easy. He comes in, strikes out 2, faces 3, and uses 7 pitches. So that'll be that. They split the 2 games here. The Angel 4-game streak is history. And of course, the player of the game has to be Clayton Kershaw, striking out 11 and
Ganson picked up 2 more. So the Dodgers and Angels will go after each other tomorrow night from Anaheim. We'll be there to send it back to you. And until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.